So there's a big lesson that Democrats should have learned this week, but they clearly haven't because they're doubling down on their whole socialist agenda. And that lesson is that culture matters. Individualism matters. And you know what? When push comes to shove, Americans are going to go out and they are going to vote your tail right out of office. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. It's great to have you here. I should point out that portions of today's program are brought to you by Immunity Armor Gold. ImmunityArmorGold.com is the website. It is the most advanced immunity boosting formula that you can get in one single product. So go to ImmunityArmorGold.com and use promo code TRISH10 to get 10% off the product. That's ImmunityArmorGold.com, promo code TRISH10. But oh my goodness, really, I mean, this is such an example this week of how the culture wars are real and they're resonating with people in a way that will cost the left politically, as it should. I mean, the idea that somehow parents should not have a say in their children's education, the idea that somehow anybody who is born white is somehow to blame and maybe automatically racist, that just doesn't sit well in a country that believes in equal opportunity. I mean, I think that's the one sort of fundamental thing that we have as Americans, is that we believe that with the right amount of sweat equity, you can really accomplish anything. Now, I would say, before we go too far down that path, I would say that there are socioeconomic challenges that all Americans face. By the way, that has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It has everything to do with socioeconomic challenges. I mean, I look at the poor kids in Chicago, where, you know, you've got multiple murders happening on any given weekend. Lori Lightfoot, Chicago, where those kids, what chance do they have? Because yes, those schools are poorly served. Those teachers are not helping these kids. Those communities with so many broken families are leaving their kids at such a disadvantage. But still, there's a commonality here that, you know, if you buckle down, you try. It may not be the easiest path, but that path still exists. America, I do not believe, is a racist country. America, I believe, may have pockets of that and certainly has socioeconomic challenges, but the CRT curriculum that they're trying to push in schools, where they're trying to make kids feel really bad about our culture and our history to the point where they're taking down, you know, the Thomas Jefferson statue in New York City. No, look, we wouldn't be here as a country without our founding fathers. And you have to be able to look at history. I was a history major myself, U.S. history major at Columbia University. And I think you've got to be able to understand the context with which history was happening and the changes that our society is undergoing. And what I still come back to is the commonality that this is the greatest country on earth and that we still provide that path, that opportunity for everyone. We're a pretty integrated country. And we're going to continue to be an integrated country. And that's all good. But the answer is never to try and, you know, penalize one group because you think that's going to help another. No, the answer is to lift everyone up. And so these culture wars are very, very real. And they're going to continue to be real. And the Republicans are smart. I will tell you that, to capture that. They are smart to push back. They are smart to stand up for individuals. Now, Joe Biden was out this week reacting to the Virginia news saying, oh, well, it's just a bunch of Trump voters. No, this transcends. I mean, there may be a lot of people that have some commonality in that they may have liked what Trump stood for and they may be against CRT, but this is bigger than that. This is a lot of crossover, I would say, from Democrats to the Republican side. Look, for goodness sakes, it's a Democrat state. No Republican has won the governorship since 2009. You've got to go back quite some time. This was a state considered firmly blue, but people crossed over and they were motivated to go out and vote because of these culture issues. So it's a smart play for Republicans. The problem is, you know, Democrats, they don't get it and they don't recognize this. There are so many like licking their wounds today and blaming it on Trump, and that's not going to really work, right? Because he didn't actually even campaign in the state. He did a telephone rally. So if that counts, so be it. But it's the issues that I've always say do matters. Policy matters. And so the policies that are going to be put in place with a conservative governor who, by the way, has a business background, was the CEO of one of the best investing companies on Wall Street, former basketball player, Division I. I mean, he's kind of the whole package, right? And he understands how to run a business. He understands how to grow companies. That's part of what the private equity industry does. And so I have a lot of faith in his ability to kind of go into Virginia, roll up his sleeves, and do the right thing for these parents. Again, stressing the importance of the individual in all this. This is what the left doesn't understand. And, it starts from the top. They've got bad leadership. And Biden at this point really has become a liability, whether it's looking at his watch when the bodies come home from Afghanistan, or whether it be seemingly falling asleep while at a G20 climate meeting. I mean, granted, it may have been a little bit boring, and I get that he's an older guy, he's got some jet lag, and it's not easy, but hey, buddy, the cameras are on. The cameras are on, just like they were on when those bodies, those caskets came back and those parents were grieving, and you had the audacity to look at your watch. Not okay. Not okay. So all of these things are adding up. You combine that with the economic challenges, and you've got the makings of a real disaster. And we do have economic challenges. The Fed saying it's going to be very patient on rates. Yeah, because they want to leave rates really, really low for a really long time. And it looks like that's what we've got. So a little bit of Groundhog Day here in terms of the Federal Reserve, which is going to, in my view, cause even more inflation. Already a turkey's up 27% this year. That's how much more money you're going to be paying for your turkey dinner on Thanksgiving. And the food prices are through the roof. Gas prices are through the roof. Biden was out this week trying to explain some of this, and he actually suggested it's food companies that are price gouging. No, I don't think so. And by the way, that kind of conflicts with his other explanation, which is that it's a supply chain issue. It is a supply chain issue, but it's also an issue of inflation that's continuing to grow. And let me tell you, once prices go up, they don't come down. How often have you seen an environment where, someone raises wages and then says, nope, we got to slash them, or raises menu prices at your local diner and then says, nope, we got to slash them? No, I'm sorry, but once inflation settles in, it's a very hard thing to get rid of, which is why I keep telling people, do me this favor, make sure you're diversifying your portfolio. Make sure that you're there to capture the inflation. And so think about how you're allocating your assets. I mean, a rule of thumb is to consider 1 to 5% of your portfolio in precious metals. It's what I've always lived by, and one of the precious metals I like more than any is actually gold, because gold is proven through thousands of years to have stood the test of time and to really help iron out some of those fluctuations that are due to inflation. We've got inflation. I mean, even best case scenario, the Fed said, you know what, we're really going to shoot for that 2% range. You still got 2% a year. So unless all of your assets are growing by 2% a year, that is going to eat in to your fixed income that someday you want to live on as a retiree. So again, this is why I still like gold. I like precious metals. You should like it too. Take a look. Go to legacypreciousmetals.com, legacypminvestments.com, and you can get their free guide. There's a downloadable guide. It will tell you all you need to know. If you want to invest in, say, a gold-backed IRA or in the actual physical stuff yourself. I just learned the other day, this is amazing, you can fit $1 million worth of gold into a shoebox. Who knew? So a lot of people, of course, like to have it in their home. I mean, not $1 million, but it's just amazing how much you can pack into just those little gold coins. Check out legacypminvestments.com. You can call them at 1-866-589-0560. Again, that number is 1-866-589-0560. Tell them Trish sent you. I know the guys over there very, very well. They'll take good care of you. Anyway, the Fed, as I said, they're going to stay patient on rates. So we're going to continue to be in this environment of higher and higher costs. I mean, that's the way it is. And so we got to get used to it. But you know what? Ultimately, this is going to come back to bite Biden. I think it's going to come back to bite Democrats come 22 and come 24. If they don't understand what a wake-up call Virginia was, Virginia that's dealing with the aftermath of Afghanistan, coupled with then in September, Merrick Garland ordering the FBI to look at people who dare to confront their school board and say, hey, we don't like this, as somehow domestic terrorism. That kind of top-down system of the federal government, just trying to control your life, that doesn't fly in America. really. And I think that's not party specific. I think, yeah, you get your fringe, your extremists out there, the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, the Rashida Tlaibs and Ilhan Omars of the world that are okay with some form of communism, frankly, where, yeah, the state is controlling everything. But most Americans, that doesn't work with them. And so increasingly, as Biden seems to be on the wrong side of all these issues, including inflation, including the economy, he has and will become a greater and greater liability. So the good news is Americans, we have a good habit of getting these things right. We really do. And I think Virginia's proof of it. And I think this is kind of like a train that's left the station. I'm so happy, let me tell you this, because I know that a lot of people were discouraged after the 2020 election, and there was this sentiment out there that felt very Latin American-like we just shouldn't bother. I mean, that was like the greatest thing for Democrats that they've ever heard, that Republicans aren't going to bother anymore, that maybe they're not going to go and vote because, oh, my vote's not counted anyway. That's a bunch of baloney. Your vote does count. Virginia proved that. And you know what? We can collectively, together as a country, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, if you believe in freedom, if you believe in liberty, you want to stand up for those values. And you stand up for those values by going and voting. And so you saw that people did that in Virginia, and I think it's a really healthy sign for what's to come. I know that the country's been really crazy. I know there's been a lot of top-down nonsense. I know between big tech and between sort of the extremism that you've here floated, much of which I'm like, wait a second, have we really lost our mind? We have lost our mind, but it's actually not us collectively. It's just a select few. It's those in charge. It's these leaders that have just gotten so far away from the fundamentals of what this country is. And I would include the Democrat Party in that. You know what? The Democrat Party, I always knew, was a party that stood up for the workers, that cared about individuals. And what it has become as of late is something very, very different. I mean, this is not my father, your father, our grandfather's Democrat Party. This is something else entirely. And that's not going to work in this country that is still the greatest country on earth, the largest economy on earth. We need to continue that line of prosperity. We need to continue to attract the best and the brightest to this nation, because we offer that path towards prosperity. And I know we can, and I think we can, and I am really excited right now for 2022 and again beyond to 2024, because Americans are speaking up and we are being heard, and it's so, so important. It's part of the reasons why I do this show. It's part of the reason why I want you to subscribe to this channel. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel. Give me a thumbs up. Go to my website, trishintel.com. Go to the store. We've got the trishregan.store, where you can help support the show, and you can look at all of our items there that push this idea of freedom and America and all that we are, all that we can be and will be. So thank you again for watching. Thank you for all your support, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.